Welcome back. In previous lessons, we talked about the psychology behind phishing and how attackers gather intelligence about their targets. Now we're going to look at the craft itself, how attackers take that research and turn it into convincing phishing messages that trick people into clicking, downloading, or handing over credentials. This is where reconnaissance becomes weaponized and where psychology meets execution. A successful phishing email has several critical components. Each one is carefully designed to build credibility and overcome skepticism. Let's think about what attackers focus on. The sender address needs to look legitimate. Attackers use several techniques here. They might spoof the display name so it shows IT support or HR department. Even though the actual email address is different, they might register domains that look nearly identical to real ones, replacing an L with a 1, adding a hyphen, or using a different top-level domain like .co instead of .com. They might compromise legitimate email accounts and send from those. So it might be a real email account you're receiving it from. The subject line needs to grab attention and create urgency or curiosity. Attackers test hundreds of subject lines to see what gets opened. Common patterns include urgent, action required, your account has been compromised, so it looks like it's a reply with the colon, something you might have discussed. Or of course there's, you have a new document to review. The message body needs to look professionally formatted, use appropriate branding and logos, match the communication style of the organization being impersonated, and provide a compelling reason for the requested action. The call to action needs to be clear and urgent. Click here to verify your account. Download the attached document. Review and approve this request. Update your password immediately. The landing page or attachment needs to look identical to the real thing if it's credential harvesting, or needs to execute malware if that's the goal. Every element is optimized based on what works. This is not guesswork. Attackers conduct A/B testing just like legitimate marketers do. So let's think more about how attackers make the sender appear legitimate. Display name spoofing is trivial. Anyone can set their display name to anything they want. You can send an email with the display name Bill Gates or your company CEO right now. A lot of email clients show the display name prominently and hide the actual email address unless you look closely or expand it. Domain spoofing is more sophisticated. Attackers register domains that look nearly identical to the legitimate ones. If the real domain is company.com, they might register company.com, but instead of an A, it's a 4, or company-secure.com or company.co instead of com, or companyinc.com. Whatever it takes so that at a glance, and especially on mobile devices, they look correct. Some attackers go further with internationalized domain names, IDNs, that use Unicode characters. They can register a domain that looks identical but uses Cyrillic or Greek characters that appear the same as Latin letters. These are called homograph attacks. The most dangerous approach is compromising legitimate accounts. If an attacker gains access to a real employer's email account, they can send phishing emails from that account. So then those emails pass all authentication checks because they're coming from a legitimate source. Attackers invest significant effort in making their phishing emails look visually authentic. They copy company logos directly from the websites. They match color schemes, fonts, formatting, spacing. They include footer information like addresses, phone numbers, legal disclaimers that appear on legitimate emails. They replicate the exact layout and structure of real communications from the organization they're impersonating. For high-value targets in particular, attackers will analyze dozens of legitimate emails from the target organization to understand their communication style, formatting conventions, and standard language. They'll notice if the company uses formal or casual language, whether they use first names or full names, and what disclaimers they typically include, for example. Modern phishing kits make this goal of making the emails indistinguishable from legitimate communications as easy as possible, with pre-built templates that exist for thousands of major companies and services already. So a lot of people don't even have to go through the work, they just buy a kit that's already set up. Do you want the Chevron template or do you want the McDonald's corporate template? For example, we talked about urgency as a psychological trigger in lesson 1. So let's think a little bit more about how attackers create it in their messages. We have time pressure, consequence pressure, opportunity pressure. For time pressure, your account will be suspended in 24 hours. This offer expires today. Immediate action required to prevent account closure. For consequence pressure, failure to respond will result in data loss. boss. Your payment has been declined and services will be interrupted. Suspicious activity detected. Verify now to prevent account lockout. I've gotten the PayPal one lots of times where they thank me for my payment. So then I have to go to PayPal and see if the money actually went out to somebody because I wasn't buying anything. I wasn't paying for anything. They're thanking me for the payment, hoping that it will be like, what are you talking about? And click on the link inside of that. Often it looks like a perfect PayPal email. And with opportunity pressure, it's limited time offer, exclusive access for the first 100 respondents. Claim your reward before it expires. The language is designed to trigger fear of missing out or fear of negative consequences. It creates a sense that you must act now, without time to think, verify, or consult with others. Just now, do it. Now, don't think, do it. Legitimate organizations rarely create artificial urgency. They understand that customers and employees need time to process information and take appropriate action. But attackers want the opposite. They want you to act before thinking. In most situations in life, unless you're in the street and might get hit by a bus, or unless a building catches on fire, anybody pressuring you with that kind of urgency should cause you to stop and pause and take a little bit longer so that you can identify what is going on because somebody is trying to make you act without thinking. Attackers exploit authority by impersonating people or organizations you're conditioned to trust and obey. They impersonate executives sending directives to employees, IT departments requesting password updates or system access, HR departments asking for personal information updates, financial institutions requiring account verification, government agencies demanding compliance, and trusted vendors or partners requesting action. The messages use authoritative language. You are required to. This is mandatory. Compliance is necessary. Official notification. As per company policy, they might include official sounding reference numbers, case numbers, or ticket numbers to add legitimacy. They might copy the signature blocks of real executives or department heads. The combination of authority and urgency is particularly powerful. When your boss emails you urgently requesting something, you want to comply quickly. That's exactly what attackers count on. This is where the reconnaissance from Lesson 2 pays off. Attackers use the information they've gathered to personalize their messages. They address you by name, not dear customer, but instead, hi John. They reference your job title or department. They mention colleagues or projects by name. They discuss recent company events or announcements. They reference your location or local context. This personalization dramatically increases success rates. A generic phishing email might have a 3% click rate. Maybe. A personalized spear phishing email can have a 30% or higher click rate. The personalization does not have to be extensive. Even small touches, using your name, mentioning your company correctly, or referencing a recent news article about your organization significantly increase perceived legitimacy. Attackers need you to either click a link or open an attachment. They use specific techniques to make this seem safe and necessary. For links, they use URL shorteners to hide the destination. They embed links in buttons or images so you can't see the URL by hovering. They use legitimate-looking anchor text like click here to access your secure document. And they create landing pages that perfectly replicate login screens. For attachments, they use familiar file types like PDF or Word documents. They give files legitimate-sounding names like Invoice March 2024 or HR Policy Update. They exploit the fact that most people trust attachments from known senders, and they use file types that can execute code when opened. Increasingly, attackers use a multi-step approach. The initial email contains a link to a cloud storage service like Dropbox or Google Drive, which is legitimate and passes security filters. The document hosted there contains the actual malicious link or payload. This technique exploits trust in legitimate platforms and bypasses email security systems that scan attachments but don't scan linked external content. When the goal is stealing credentials, attackers create fake login pages that look identical to real ones. These pages are pixel-perfect copies of legitimate login screens. They include the same logos, colors, form fields, and footer information. They might even show legitimate security certificates to appear more trustworthy. When you enter your username and password, the page captures your credentials, then either shows an error message like invalid password, please try again, and redirects you to the real site. Or it automatically logs you in by passing your credentials through to the legitimate service, so you don't even realize anything ever happened. The attacker now has your credentials, and you might not discover the compromise until days or weeks later when you notice suspicious activity, if ever. Attackers know that email security systems are scanning for malicious content, so they use techniques to evade detection. They try to avoid trigger words that might flag spam filters. They might use image-based content instead of text to bypass content scanning. They might delay the activation of malicious links so they appear safe during initial scanning but become malicious hours later. They host content on compromised but legitimate websites that are not blacklisted. They use legitimate services like URL shorteners, file sharing platforms, and marketing automation tools that security systems trust. I had one scammer try to tell me once, "Oh, it's on Google Docs, so you know that it's fine." No, no, no. They also test their emails against security systems before launching campaigns. They'll send test emails to Gmail, Outlook, and corporate email systems to see if they get blocked, then modify their approach until the emails pass through successfully. Professional phishing operations don't send one email and hope for the best. They optimize continuously. They test different subject lines, different sender names, different message content, different calls to action, and different timing to see what generates the highest response rates. They track metrics like open rates, click rates, credential submission rates, and conversion to successful compromise. They analyze which approaches work best for different target types and refine their templates accordingly. This is a professional operation run like a business because for many attackers, that's all it is to them. It's a business. There's a quote from the security researcher Bruce Schneier that fits perfectly here. He wrote in his book, Secrets and Lies, Digital Security in a Networked World, "If you think technology can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and you don't understand the technology." What Schneier understood is that security is fundamentally about trust and deception, not just technology. Attackers succeed by exploiting trust, not always by breaking encryption or bypassing firewalls. No matter how sophisticated your email filters become, attackers will craft messages that bypass them. No matter how many technical controls you implement, a well-crafted phishing email that looks legitimate, comes from a trusted source, and creates the right emotional response will get through. The defense is not better technology, it's better awareness. It's understanding that these messages are actually carefully crafted deceptions, designed specifically to overcome your skepticism. One thing that surprises people is that sophisticated phishing operations have quality control processes. Before launching a campaign, attackers review their emails for spelling and grammatical errors, test them across different email clients and devices to ensure proper rendering, verify that links work and landing pages load correctly, confirm that credential harvesting is functioning properly, and ensure that the message is convincing and the pretext holds up to basic scrutiny. The days of obviously fake phishing campaigns full of errors are largely gone for targeted campaigns. Those still exist for mass phishing, playing the numbers games, but spear phishing campaigns targeting valuable individuals or organizations are professionally crafted and professionally managed. Understanding how much effort goes into crafting phishing messages should fundamentally change how you evaluate emails. That legitimate-looking email is not accidentally legitimate looking. It's the result of careful research, design, testing, and optimization specifically intended to fool you. Yes, you are important. Everyone wants to tell you, well, the world doesn't revolve around you. Well, sometimes it does. The sender isn't hoping you won't notice the red flags. They've worked hard to eliminate red flags and create a message that passes your scrutiny. This is psychological warfare, and this is social engineering, and this is weaponization of trust and authority against you. So then how do you defend against messages that are this convincing? First, understand that legitimacy is performative. Just because something looks and feels legitimate doesn't mean it is. It might look perfect, still might not be. Attackers are performing legitimacy. Second, verify requests through independent channels. If you receive an email asking you to take action, don't click the link in the email. Go directly to the website through your browser or call the organization using a phone number you look up yourself, not a phone number in that email. If people are putting links in emails, be suspicious of those links, no matter who it is. Especially be suspicious of urgency. Legitimate, urgent situations are rare. If you work in certain industries, you might have daily legitimate urgent situations, but you'll learn about those through phone calls, not by clicking links, text messages, not by clicking links in the text either. Most urgent emails are artificial pressure designed to prevent verification. If it's in an email and it's that urgent, then somebody wasn't thinking clearly, because you might not have been able to answer your emails or look at your emails in a certain moment. Sometimes people don't see their emails for hours or days. It can really vary, and sometimes emails can get lost. Sometimes emails don't come through. If you're sending emails that are super urgent and you send one and somebody doesn't reply and the whole world's going to fall apart because of it, you're at fault because you should have found another way to try to contact them. And fourth, remember that personalization proves nothing. Just because someone knows your name and your job title, your coworkers' names, your family names, it doesn't make them legitimate. Typically, all that information is publicly available, especially with all the breaches that have already occurred. In the next lesson, we're going to explore how attackers deliver these messages while evading security systems and how they maximize their reach through various distribution methods. Getting past email filters and security controls is its own kind of sophisticated challenge that attackers have developed specific techniques to overcome.